I sat very still in my daughter's old bedroom, staring at the browser history on my laptop screen. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They'd gone cold and steady about 20 minutes ago, right around the time I realized what I was looking at. How to claim adverse possession in Ontario. Can someone take your house if you let them live there? Rights of family members living in parents' home. How long before squatters can legally own property? My son-in-law, Marcus Chen, had searched for all of these 2 weeks ago at 3 in the morning. On the computer I'd lent him to help with his job search. I actually laughed. Not a happy laugh, more like the sound you make when you finally understand the punchline to a joke that's been playing out for 8 months, and you're the only one who didn't know it was a joke. 8 months ago, my daughter Bethany had called me in tears. She was 34, and her marriage was struggling. Marcus had just been let go from his accounting position. Their landlord was selling their condo, and they had nowhere to go. As a mother, what was I supposed to do? I'd been rattling around in this 4-bedroom house in Burlington by myself since my husband Richard passed 3 years earlier. Of course, they could stay with me. Family takes care of family. That's what Richard always said. Just until we get back on our feet, Mom, Bethany had promised. Maybe 3 months, 4 at most. That was in February. It was now October. I closed the laptop and looked around the room. I'd moved into this tiny bedroom when they arrived, giving them the master suite because they needed the space and it was just temporary. My clothes were in garbage bags in the closet. My mother's antique dresser was in the basement. I'd packed away my entire life to make room for them, and I'd done it gladly because I loved my daughter. I heard Marcus's voice downstairs, talking on the phone, laughing, that easy, confident laugh he had. Yeah, man, it's perfect. Free rent, free food, and she does all the cooking and cleaning. I'm telling you, I don't know why more people don't move in with their in-laws. More laughter. What? Hell no, I'm not looking that hard. Why would I? This setup is too good. Beth's mom is too nice to kick us out, and in Ontario, if we live here long enough, we could actually have legal claim to the place. I've been reading up on it. I pressed my hand over my mouth. Yeah, seriously. A few more months and we're golden. Then we can either force her to sell and split it with us, or just, I don't know, figure something out. The house is worth at least $800,000. That's $400K for us if we play this right. I stood up, quietly. I've been a nurse for 37 years, and one thing you learn in that profession is how to move silently through a room when you need to. How to stay calm when everything inside you is screaming. How to make life or death decisions without letting emotion cloud your judgment. I knew that emotional reactions led to mistakes, so I sat back down, opened my laptop again, and started taking screenshots. Every single search, every date, every timestamp. Then I went through Marcus's email. Yes, I knew his password because he'd asked me to check something for him months ago and never changed it. There were emails to Bethany, planning conversations. She knew, my daughter knew. Mom's never going to ask us to leave. She's too worried about looking like a bad mother. We just need to stay until the possession laws work in our favor. Your mom won't even know what hit her. She keeps talking about taking that trip to France she's always wanted. Perfect, more money she's wasting that could be ours. I read every word. Some of them I read 3 times, just to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding, but there was no misunderstanding. My daughter and her husband had been planning for months to legally steal my home. The home Richard and I had bought 32 years ago. The home where we'd raised Bethany and her brother Connor. The home where Richard had died in our bed, holding my hand, telling me to live a good life and be happy. I sat there for 2 hours, documenting everything, breathing, planning. Then I picked up my phone and called my sister Dorothy in Vancouver. I need the name of that lawyer friend of yours, the one who specializes in real estate. I didn't wait for her questions. I gave her the shortest version I could, and within 30 minutes, I had an appointment with Catherine Morrison, a property lawyer right here in Burlington, for first thing Monday morning. It was Saturday evening. I had all day Sunday to prepare. I went downstairs. Bethany was in my kitchen. No, I reminded myself firmly. In my kitchen in my house, making herself a fancy coffee with the espresso machine I'd bought 3 months ago because she mentioned she missed good coffee. Marcus was on the couch, scrolling through his phone, feet up on the ottoman. "Oh, Mom, perfect timing," Bethany said without looking up. "Can you run to the store? We're out of that almond milk I like, and Marcus wants those crackers with the seeds on them." "Sure, honey," I said. Marcus glanced at me. "And if they have those steaks on sale, grab a few. I'm feeling like a barbecue tomorrow." "Of course." I drove to the grocery store. I bought the almond milk, the crackers, the steaks. I bought everything they wanted. Then I went home and made them dinner, herb-crusted salmon with roasted vegetables and a quinoa salad, Bethany's favorite. "This is amazing, Mom," she said, and for just a second, she sounded like my little girl again, the one who used to help me bake cookies and tell me about her dreams. I almost broke then. Almost. But then Marcus said, "Yeah, you've really perfected the whole housewife thing, Linda. Beth's lucky she doesn't have to do much around here." He meant it as a compliment. That's what made it worse. On Monday morning, I told them I was going to visit Dorothy's daughter who lived in Oakville. They barely looked up. I drove to Catherine Morrison's office instead. Catherine was about 50, with sharp eyes and silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. She listened to everything without interrupting, reviewed all my screenshots and printed emails, and then leaned back in her chair. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. What they're attempting is legally questionable but not impossible. Ontario's adverse possession laws are complex. However, they've made several crucial errors." "What kind of errors?" "First, there's clear documentation of intent to defraud, which voids any adverse possession claim. Second, they've been paying rent even if that rent is just labor or verbal agreements. Third, and most importantly, this is still your primary residence, and you've maintained all ownership rights. They have no case." Relief flooded through me. "But," Catherine continued, "that doesn't mean they won't try, and it doesn't mean this won't get messy. My advice? You need to establish legal notice immediately. In Ontario, if they're considered guests who've overstayed, you can evict them with 60 days' notice." 60 days? I know it seems long, but it protects you legally. You do this right, or they could drag you into court and make your life hell for months, maybe years. I thought about that. 60 more days of living in my daughter's childhood bedroom. 60 more days of cooking meals for people who were plotting to steal my home. 60 more days of pretending everything was fine. Let's do it. Catherine drafted the notice right there. It was formal, legal, and absolutely clear. Bethany Chen and Marcus Chen were being given 60 days to vacate the premises at 847 Lakeshore Road, Burlington, Ontario. Failure to comply would result in formal eviction proceedings. "Serve this to them in person, with a witness present," Catherine instructed. "I recommend doing it tonight, with your sister or a friend present. Record it if you can. Ontario is a one-party consent province." I called Dorothy. She took the next flight from Vancouver, arriving at Pearson Airport by 7 that evening. I picked her up, and we sat in my car in the airport parking lot while I explained everything. Dorothy was 72, 3 years older than me, and she'd never liked Marcus. "I knew that boy was trouble," she said. "The way he looked at your house the first time Bethany brought him around like he was appraising it. I told you. You did. Are you ready for this?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." We went home. Together. Dorothy carried her suitcase in like she was planning to stay a while, which she was. Bethany and Marcus were in the living room watching television. "Aunt Dorothy." Bethany jumped up. "What are you doing here?" "Visiting my baby sister," Dorothy said cheerfully. "That all right with you?" "Of course. But Mom, you didn't tell us." "It was last minute," I said. My voice was steady. I'd been practicing in the car. "But I'm glad you're both here. I need to give you something." I pulled the notices from my purse. 2 envelopes, professionally printed, with both their names typed on the front. Marcus took his first. He opened it, scanned it, and his face went completely blank. Bethany read hers more slowly. When she looked up, there were tears in her eyes. "Mom, what is this?" "It's a formal eviction notice. You have 60 days to find a new place to live." "You can't be serious." Marcus stood up. "This is insane. Over what? We've been nothing but helpful. You've been researching how to steal my house." The room went silent. Bethany's face lost all color. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and started reading. How to claim adverse possession in Ontario. Can someone take your house if you let them live there? Should I go on? You went through my computer? Marcus's voice was rising. That's a violation of privacy. You used my computer, which I lent you in good faith, to research how to legally steal my house, which I opened to you in good faith. Would you like to discuss violations? Dorothy moved closer to me. Just a small step, but it was enough. I wasn't alone. Mom, please, let me explain, Bethany started. You knew. My voice cracked on those two words. I'd been so strong, so controlled, and now everything was threatening to spill out. You've known for months. I read the emails, Bethany. I read every single message between you two, discussing how my house could be yours, how I was too nice to stop you, how my money your father and I worked 40 years to save was being wasted because I might want to take one trip to France before I die. Bethany was fully crying now. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Explain it to me. But she couldn't. She just stood there, crying, while Marcus got angrier. You can't do this, he said. We have rights. We've been living here for 8 months. As guests, not tenants, not owners. Guests who have overstayed their welcome and, it turns out, have been plotting against me the entire time. That's not what we were doing. I have screenshots. I have emails. I have documentation of every single search you made, every conversation you had. My lawyer has all of it. So please, Marcus, try to take me to court. I would absolutely love to see you explain those searches to a judge. He shut up. Dorothy spoke for the first time. The notice is legal and binding. You have 60 days. I suggest you start looking for apartments. Where are we supposed to go? Bethany whispered. The question broke my heart, which made me angry. You know what, honey? I don't know. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided my home should become your home. Maybe you should have thought about that before you plotted to manipulate possession laws. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided I was too old and too nice to deserve respect. Mom, I never said that. You wrote it in an email to your husband. Bethany sat down hard on the couch. I looked at both of them. 60 days. I've been more than generous, considering what you plan to do to me. The notice is served. Dorothy witnessed it. If you're not out in 60 days, I will pursue formal eviction and file for any legal costs associated with removing you. Do you understand? Marcus opened his mouth, then closed it. Some part of him was finally smart enough to realize he had no ground to stand on. Do you understand? I repeated. Yes, he muttered. Bethany? My daughter nodded, tears streaming down her face. Good. I'll be sleeping in the master bedroom tonight. You two can take the spare room. Dorothy will be staying in Bethany's old room. I'll be reclaiming my space in my house. If you have a problem with any of this, there's a motel about 10 minutes down the highway. I walked upstairs. Dorothy followed. My legs didn't start shaking until I closed the bedroom door behind us. You did good, Linda, Dorothy said quietly. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's normal. You just stood up to your daughter. What kind of mother has to evict her own child? The kind whose child was trying to steal her home. Don't you dare feel guilty. You did exactly what you needed to do. That night, I slept in my own bed for the first time in 8 months. I didn't sleep well, but I slept there. That mattered. The next few days were tense. Marcus and Bethany mostly stayed in the spare room or left the house entirely. They stopped asking me to cook for them. They stopped asking me for anything. The atmosphere was cold and uncomfortable, but Dorothy stayed by my side through all of it. On day 4, Bethany knocked on my bedroom door. Mom, can we talk? I let her in. She looked terrible, red eyes, pale skin, like she hadn't slept. I'm sorry, she said immediately. I'm so sorry. What we did was wrong. What we planned was... I don't even know how we got there. I don't know how I became someone who could do that to you. I waited. Marcus started talking about it as a joke, months ago. Just like, wouldn't it be funny if we could actually claim the house? And then he started researching it, and it stopped being a joke. And I just went along with it. I didn't stop him. I should have stopped him. You participated, I said quietly. I know. You sent emails planning it. I know. Bethany, you're my daughter. I gave birth to you. I raised you. I taught you right from wrong. And you looked at me at your own mother and saw someone you could manipulate and steal from. Do you understand how much that hurts? She nodded, crying again. I would have helped you, I continued. If you'd been honest with me, if you'd told me you were struggling, if you'd asked me for help finding a place or even help with a down payment, I would have done it. I would have done anything for you. But instead, you lied to me for 8 months while plotting to take everything your father and I built. I know, and I hate myself for it. Mom, I hate who I became. Then change. She looked up at me, surprised. You made terrible choices, Bethany. You hurt me in ways I'm not sure I'll ever fully get over. But you're my daughter, and I love you, and that means I want you to be better. I want you to learn from this. I want you to become someone who would never do this to another person again. Does that mean? No. You're still leaving. The eviction stands. You need to face the consequences of your actions. But it doesn't mean I'm cutting you out of my life forever. It means we need distance. It means we need time. It means you need to grow up and figure out who you want to be. Bethany cried harder, but she nodded. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for not hating me. I could never hate you. But I also can't have you in my home right now. Do you understand the difference? Yes. She left. I sat on my bed and let myself cry for the first time since this whole thing started. Dorothy found me there and held me while I sobbed. Over the next several weeks, Bethany and Marcus looked for apartments. I heard them fighting a few times. Apparently this situation had exposed other problems in their marriage. Good. Maybe they needed that too. On day 37, Bethany knocked on my door again. Mom? Can I tell you something? What is it? I'm leaving Marcus. I wasn't surprised, but I still felt the weight of it. Are you sure? I'm sure. I think he brought out the worst in me. Or maybe I was always capable of this and he just gave me permission. I don't know. But I know I don't want to be married to someone who thinks like he does, who sees people, especially family, as things to use. What will you do? I found a 1-bedroom apartment in Hamilton. It's small and it's not much, but it's mine. Mine and nobody else's. I'm going to figure out who I am without him, without anyone telling me what to think. I'm proud of you for that. She smiled a little. Really? Really. It takes courage to admit you've been wrong. It takes even more courage to walk away from something familiar, even when you know it's toxic. I learned that from you. I didn't know what to say to that. Watching you these past few weeks, Bethany continued, standing up for yourself, refusing to be a victim, setting boundaries even when it hurt, that's been the best example you could have given me. Better than any lecture. Thank you. After they left Marcus to some bachelor apartment in Toronto, Bethany to her place in Hamilton, I spent a week just being alone in my house. I moved my clothes back into the master closet. I brought my mother's dresser up from the basement. I reclaimed every single space. Dorothy stayed for 2 weeks total before flying back to Vancouver. Before she left, she hugged me tight. You did the impossible thing, she said. You loved your daughter enough to hold her accountable. That's real love. The hard kind. After she left, I sat in my living room, and thought about what I wanted to do next. I was 69 years old. I'd spent 3 years mourning Richard, 8 months being taken advantage of, and countless years before that putting everyone else's needs before my own. When was the last time I'd done something just for me? I opened my laptop and booked a trip to France. 3 weeks in Paris, Provence, and the Loire Valley. I'd always wanted to go, and Richard had promised we'd do it for our 40th anniversary. We never made it, but I could still go. I left in November, right when the gray Canadian winter was settling in, and I spent 3 weeks eating amazing food, seeing incredible art, and learning that I actually loved being alone with my own thoughts. When I came back, Bethany asked if we could have lunch. We met at a small cafe in Dundas, neutral territory. She looked different, tired, but somehow lighter. How was France? She asked. It was perfect. I'm glad. We talked carefully, like two people learning each other's language again. She told me about therapy she'd started, about books she was reading, about a job she'd gotten at a nonprofit. I told her about the painting classes I'd started taking, about the volunteer work I was doing at the hospital, about my plans to finally finish Richard's workshop in the garage and turn it into a pottery studio. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Do you think you'll ever forgive me?" I thought about that. I don't know. Maybe. But forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting, and it isn't the same as everything going back to how it was. What you did changed our relationship forever. She nodded, tears in her eyes but not falling. "But," I continued, "I'm willing to see who you become from here. I'm willing to build something new with you if you show me that you've really changed. That's the best I can offer right now. That's more than I deserve. Maybe. But I'm your mother, and that means I choose to believe in your ability to be better. Don't make me regret it." "I won't. I promise." It's been 6 months since that lunch. Bethany and I have coffee every few weeks. She's still in therapy. She finalized her divorce from Marcus 3 months ago. She's dating someone new, a teacher named James, who seems kind and respectful, though I'm meeting him slowly and carefully. I finished Richard's workshop. It's a beautiful pottery studio now, with a wheel and a kiln and shelves full of misshapen bowls I'm learning to make. I'm terrible at it, but I love it. I'm planning another trip, this time to Ireland, where my grandmother was born. And I'm learning something important. Your love, your home, your help, these are gifts, not obligations. When someone treats your gifts like they're owed, when they take your generosity and twist it into something ugly, you have every right to take those gifts back. Setting boundaries doesn't make you cruel. It makes you wise. Protecting what you've built doesn't make you selfish. It makes you strong. And sometimes, loving someone means letting them face the consequences of their choices, because that's the only way they'll learn to make better ones. My daughter tried to take my home. Instead, she learned what it means to build one of her own. And me? I learned that it's never too late to stand up for yourself. It's never too late to say enough. It's never too late to choose yourself. I'm 69 years old, and I'm just getting started.